We are unique at Oklahoma State University. We have colleges. We have College of Engineering and Technology. We have College of Business. Well, now it's Spears School. But the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources is unique in having 3 different units within that division. And so our dean is a vice president. He's the only dean that's a vice president on campus. And so we have the college, so the College of Ag Sciences and Natural Resources, but we also have the Extension Service and the Ag Experiment Station, which are separate units, separate agencies. And so we get funding differently. That makes it a bit of a challenge when funding for OSU comes through the higher regents, and when we've been cut, like other agencies that are funded by state government, by 25% in the last couple of years. The colleges have the opportunity to a certain degree to make up some of that with tuition and fee increases. And so while we continue to try to make it affordable for everyone, the colleges have the opportunity to generate some revenue that the Experiment Station and Extension Service doesn't have. And so that presents a challenge for us. And so that's something that we're working through now. So we're having to live within our budget constraints just as you all have to do in terms of your businesses. And so we're looking at ways to do things differently in going ahead. So it's kind of challenging actually to have the discussion about building for the future right after you make the comment about the budget constraints that we face. But construction and capital funds are often different, so the sources for those kinds of money are different than for personnel and other things. And so we are building on campus. So I took this picture actually yesterday on my drive in. So if you're coming into Stillwater on Highway 51 and you see Barn A there on the other side of the road, so there's some greenhouses that have been taken down there. So we are trying to update facilities. Some of the reinvesting in DASNR funds that we got as one-time funds last year through the Oklahoma Department of Ag, Food, and Forestry on the Experiment Station side are being used to take down outdated facilities and to build up our capacity to do research in a variety of ways. We invested some of that reinvesting in DASNR money to upgrade our technology in our county area offices around the state. So there are a variety of things going on. Teaching greenhouse is being built on campus. It's scheduled to be finished before the fall semester, and at this point it's actually ahead of schedule, so that's exciting. You don't often have construction projects that are ahead of schedule. We have a new dairy barn. We have plans for a dairy robotics center there. We're having to rebid some things, but again, there was a Ferguson family was very generous in donating a lot of funds that help with that project. And so again, we're grateful to donors who help make things happen during tight budget times. There's also plans for an animal nutrition physiology lab. And if you've been around the dean for the last couple of years, you've probably heard him talk about interest in building a new ag hall. So we're kind of one of the last buildings on campus that hasn't had significant renovations in, say, 40 years. So if you haven't been on campus, it'll be and you graduated in 1970, 1980, you'll come back and you'll recognize it because it hasn't changed a lot. I had some alums come through when I was acting department head, and they're like, wow, the bathrooms, the tile, everything's still the same. Yeah, it is. So not a lot has changed. But we are in what's called the silent phase. I know there's some people here that heard Dr. Kuhn talk last week at the Crop Improvements OGI meeting about the coming campaign to raise funds for new ag hall. So the plans are that it will be done in 2 phases. So the first phase will be the lab facilities and the classrooms, and then the later phase, once that's built down the road, would be to provide office space and other things there. So if you've happened upon an oil well or anything in recent months or years and are looking for places to invest it, Dr. Kuhn and the OSU Foundation would be delighted to hear from you. So I think the anticipated cost was something like $126 million for both phases of Ag Hall. And so for a mere $30 million, you can have naming rights to one of the buildings. I think you can have the pavilion for $15 million. $3 million gets you a floor, $1 million will get you a cornerstone or something like that. So again, if you've happened on a lot of money, don't know what to do with it, here's some possibilities. And so, a paver, I don't know. We haven't gotten down to that level yet. So we're still in they're going after the big fish for now. You know, when they get down to those of us for pavers, I'll let you know, Ron. So that is exciting. We've also seen some designs for new agronomy farm. But again, I think the price tag's $33 million, and so there's got to be some private money available to help with that longer term. But we provide some great new facilities, as Dr. Kuhn said last week, to get the analogy was with the sports teams, to get our stadiums, our facilities up to our team level. So we have great scientists doing excellent work, but in very, very dated facilities. So those are some building things. So we're building for the future in other ways in terms of innovation. So this conference, by blending some things, is an innovation. So I'm hopeful that you all find it a good blend, and that the team, it works out well for the team. One of the spaces, interesting to have the kind of the digital presentation this morning, one of the spaces that we know that we're behind is in kind of our digital presence within DASNR. And so we've invested in a variety of ways. So some of it's with consultants to help us think differently about what we've been doing. We've hired a new digital director who comes from industry, has some very interesting perspectives and ideas about how to help us with that. We've looked at other universities in terms of the things that they're doing. So for instance, Penn State was an early innovator and has done some things to have the user experience when you come to our websites or try to access our information be more of an Amazon-like experience. And so you land on the page, or you decide you want to search for something, and it says, you know, what are you looking for? And if you say that you're looking for information on irrigating grain sorghum, you type that in, it pulls up, you maybe, here's a video, here's some YouTube videos, here's a publication, here's an upcoming event, and if you're interested in irrigating grain sorghum, you might also be interested in irrigating wheat. And so we're a long way from being there, but that's kind of the vision is that, and as our digital directors explained, websites are kind of the old form of the way that we manage data in a digital space. They've got frames now, and we have to tag everything in the right way. But we'll be moving from what we refer to as kind of our academic silos to this more integrated web space. So right now, if you wanted to, if you were an absentee landowner and wanted to know about irrigated grain sorghum, you'd go to the Ag Econ department for budgets that might help provide a cost perspective on that. Would have some links to rental rate data. You go to the agronomy, plant soil science site for a variety of things. And so there are a lot of things that can be done better. And so we're moving forward in that. We've also are in the process of hiring an instructional design person. So a number of our faculty, area specialists and educators are interested in developing more online course type structures. So if you had a specific interest and wanted to get a package of information related to that, we'll have an instructional design person help us to think through what's the best way to develop and deliver that. So there are a variety of other things going on in terms of innovation, in terms of partnerships. For instance, we have some administrative assistance support sharing in our local offices with conservation commissions. So we're looking for ways to partner in a variety of ways to maintain our capacity in our local offices. And so there's a variety of things going on there as well. Part of some of our other efforts are with respect to just accountability. And so I think you got a good demonstration of that this morning with the poster presentation. So you see the investment that we're making in our graduate students and their skill development. You're seeing where research is headed. So those are an example of an in-person kind of stakeholder report. We've got a couple of new evaluation specialists that the Experiment Station and Extension have co-invested in. They'll be helping with our communications and marketing, because I think we haven't done a particularly good job of demonstrating the return on an investment as a system. And so you do that through the relationships in terms of one-on-one at local levels and different events. but we can do a better job as a system explaining what all the benefits are of this investment in the land grant mission. And those specialists are available to help all of our educators in evaluating the events that they hold locally, so they get some feedback, know how it might be done better, and so I think they'll be helpful in a variety of ways. So we're having to invest strategically in personnel, and so we don't automatically refill any positions. We are in the process of looking for a new small grain specialist as well as a soil chemist, and so those are two that I know would be important to this crowd. So we're also in the midst of interviews for an extension veterinarian, and so again, and as a division, there's an urban horticulture position that is being searched for. So the variety of things going on in terms of personnel investment. We're also trying to do a better job within communications amongst our personnel, doing a better job in terms of orienting our new educators, getting them familiar with all the specialists in the departments, and so I'm thankful for Randy Taylor's leadership in reinstituting some of those things. Last fall we had area specialists and state specialists get together to talk about teams that might promote different things, and those teams that evolved from that range from kind of emergency preparedness. We have ongoing teams within on the crop side with respect to weed management, but we also have some new teams that are forming as a result of that. So there's a lot of collaboration being fostered that I think will pay off in the long run. I'll remind myself. So lots of new things going on in terms of program development and delivery, and so again, as we're limited by the number of people we have, we're using Zoom technology, for instance, doing webinars that are open to everyone. We've had some hybrid events. So I know Seth Bird did a cotton meeting where we had an in-person crowd, but everybody was able to join in virtually as well to hear the discussion there. I know Amy, that you're going to hear from here shortly, has also done some Farm Bill meetings virtually. And so that allows people to kind of tap in whenever and wherever they are. So they're typically archived. So part of our digital overhaul is making sure that those are accessible and people can find them when they want to do that. So there's some important anniversaries this year. So if you haven't talked to Wes out at the Mesonet booth, this is a 25th anniversary. So that's been a great tool. We're literally the envy of I think the U.S., if not the world, in terms of the kind of the weather data that we have, the mapping, the apps, and those sorts of things that are associated with that. So you'll see more about that on places like SunUp and in the media, as well as this year is the 45th anniversary of Oklahoma gardening. And so that's a very long run for a public television show. I know it gets a lot of play throughout Oklahoma, and so that's been a great run. I thought I might just mention some of the kind of national and recent state awards, again, to provide or demonstrate kind of the breadth of our programming and depth of programming. And so last December, Dwayne Elmore, who's our Extension Wildlife Specialist, won a USDA award. He was the Southern Region Award winner for his program career in wildlife extension. And then Ron Cox in Family Consumer Science won nationally the USDA Diversity Award for a program that he's done called UNIDOS that targets urban Hispanic youth in Oklahoma City and Tulsa primarily, but it's been well received and has had significant impacts on the kids and their families to help them avoid high-risk behavior and to be more successfully integrated into schools and so on. So at our recent, well, it's been maybe almost a month ago now, we had a County Extension Director conference on campus, and so it was our opportunity to recognize people internally with the annual awards, and so we recognized individuals, groups, teams, so you can see the Irrigation, Energy, and Water Audit team, Extension Weed Science team, Dr. Ravi Jadeja, who does food safety with Animal Science and Food and Ag Product Center, was recognized as the outstanding individual. And then we had two educators, Brenda Miller, who's a district program specialist for Family Consumer Science, and Becky Walker in Pontotoc County, a 4-H educator, recognized as outstanding individuals. So there's lots to celebrate. At the same time, we're challenged by the budget things, but we have good people doing lots of good things. So I wanted to also mention we're in the process of planning community engagement sessions. And so the idea is that, again, we want to engage our stakeholders broadly in the conversation about how we should build for the future. So we want input from everyone, and so there will be public announcements as well as invitations going out from local extension offices. There'll probably be 17 to 20 locations around the state, so we will be from Guyman to the southeast, so around the state, so look for an opportunity there to be involved in the discussion to help us think about what our priorities are long term. What are the issues that are facing our communities, our families, our youth, our agricultural businesses, our rural communities around the state in the next 3 to 5 years, because that's the information that we need to help think about, again, how to strategically plan going ahead. So might mention just a little about CASNR as well. So people are often curious about what's going on with enrollment retention. So CASNR is one of the bright stars in the OSU landscape. So we were on a trajectory for a while. We had record enrollment at OSU. That's kind of plateaued and a lot of the colleges are down, but we've held pretty steady within CASNR. So we have about 4,200 undergraduate and graduate students. 3,800 are undergrads, about 420 graduate students. Our undergrads are from all over the U.S., 45 states and 33 countries. We have undergraduates from, and we have kids from every county in Oklahoma. About a third of the undergrad enrollment is out of state. So that's beneficial in that they pay out-of-state tuition, which helps pay the bills for all the kids in state as well. And so enrollment's been good. We're at the top of the list within the university, again, in terms of our retention. There have been lots of efforts in recent years to keep kids once they're there after the first year, to help them manage not only their finances, but just the adjustment kinds of things in coming to college. And so, you know, Dr. Clary's target is to get to 90%. We're not quite there, but we're in the high 80s, which is, again, leading the campus. So there's also big efforts to finish in 4. We have 100 kids that live within a unit called FIT on campus that are CASNR related, and so those mentoring, sharing opportunities have been important as a part of that process. So getting scholarship and banquet season's right around the corner, so we give about $1.7 million out in scholarships each year, and so there'll be a variety of banquets to celebrate that.